It's been a while and I don't have a lot of time today, but I thought I'd try and bleed up the brakes now that I've got them plumbed in. I don't have a glamorous assistant, but what I do have is a vacuum bleeding kit. The idea is you squeeze this, or you fit that end down there onto the bleed nipple, and then you pump away on this, creates a vacuum, you crack the bleed nipple open and it sucks the fluid through the line. So I've never actually used one of these before. I had a go yesterday on a motorbike, and it seemed to work, but that was a very short, small system. So I'm going to have a play with this and see if I can get it to work. So I've got the cap of the master cylinder off and the reservoir filled right up. I've got my line onto my clear hose onto that bleed nipple, and I've positioned my ring spanner so that I can go up and down without hitting anything. Then this is my tool. I'm just gonna pump it up. I don't really know how high I'm gonna go, so I'll just do it a bit, see what happens. Right, then I'm gonna click this open and hopefully we'll see stuff travelling through. Oh. So we're not getting any fluid. I wouldn't expect to at this stage. The pressure has dropped to nothing, so hopefully it ingested a bit. I'll pump it back up. And again. Oh, got a rush of fluid in there. I think that was just the dregs from when I was doing the motorbike. Again, pressure on that has dropped completely, as you would expect. There's a lot of lines because obviously it goes from the reservoir down to that brake proportioning valve, then to the wheel on that side of the car, then back across to this one. So there's potentially a lot of air in there, so this might take a while. So bear with. If this works, this is going to be a really neat little thing to have. It's only about 20 quid off eBay. It comes in its own little plastic carry case. Still nothing. Nope. Not convinced this is working. Let's go and have a look at the reservoir and see if the level has dropped at all. No. I shall have to do some more thinking about this. Okay, I've been doing a bit of fiddling. The fluid wasn't dropping at all in there, and I was thinking, well, actually, how can the fluid get past the piston if you don't press the brake pedal? So I cracked open the bleed nipple at the back and then just pumped the brake pedal with my foot for a while. Then I did it again, but with that bleed nipple full open. Did it a while more, and then I basically tried the pressure gauge again, or the vacuum pump, and now I'm starting to get some actual fluid through. So if you watch now, so it's doing something. Now I'm not sure whether I should have the pedal half depressed while I'm bleeding this. I think possibly you should. I really should have read the instructions, and I might go and do that now and report back. Well, rather disappointingly, I'm getting absolutely nowhere with this. I've tried repeatedly operating the vacuum pump with either the brake pedal being intermittently pressed by me or by that block of wood and just leaving it down. And although I can get little dribs and drabs of fluid through, it's not the same as when you bleed it by your foot. So I have another option, and that is to try and use an eezibleed kit, but I hate them because I've used one in the past and all it did was blow brake fluid all over the place. So I'll go and get the caps out and see if I can get one that actually fits my master cylinder. This is my eezibleed kit, and it comes with a whole load of different caps for different size reservoirs, so I'm just going to go through them and find the right one and then refresh my memory of how you meant to plumb this all together. Basically, you plug it into a tyre, and my past failures have been because I've fitted it to a tyre with far too much pressure in it, and then when I've connected it all up, it's just gone and blasted brake fluid everywhere, which is why I don't really like them. The vacuum line idea seemed much more sensible, but it's not working, as I say, so I'm going to set this up and then see what happens. Well, we're making a promising start. That cap fits really snugly on my reservoir, which is good. Now I need to set all this up. The wind, fucking hell, excuse my language. The wind is getting right up now, which is quite annoying, and the rain is starting. That basically gets screwed through the cap. Then I need to go and find a tyre with about 10 to 20 psi in it, no more than that. Then that line connects to the Schroeder valve on the tyre. One end goes into the bottle cap, which is like that, and the other line is, as I said, on that cap, and then we should be ready to start trying to bleed the brakes. Okay, we're about ready to go. Must have a vacuum leak somewhere because it's already pumping. Basically, you've got that at about 10 psi, which is the minimum. Right, I think we're good to go. That's at 10 psi, old trailer wheel. I've got my bottle of fluid, my reservoir's full. When I first connected it, it already started flowing through. I'm going to move that there because the wind might blow it over, because it's getting really windy now. I'll pick up my instructions before they blow away. And then I'm going to crack this open again and just see what happens. I'm going to continue using this little tub, but I'll take that line off to my pressure sensor. Right, now let's see what happens. Ah, would you look at that? So we got some pressure, well, some fluid coming through at least, and at the moment I don't have my foot on the brake pedal or anything like that. I wouldn't mind betting that that is about all the pressure that trailer tyre is going to be able to provide. This is where I went wrong last time. I basically whacked up the pressure on the tyre and it blew it out everywhere. So I will get the pressure gauge, see what that tyre says, and then work out what I'm going to do next. Okay, that tyre, sorry, that one was the one I was using first, and that basically is such a small volume, and it was only about 10 psi. That's now flat, just with one opening of the bleed level. This next one was about 30. I've dropped it down to 20. I'm going to plug my line back onto it and hope it doesn't blow fluid everywhere. You can see it doing something, but no explosions yet, which is reassuring. I'm going to crack this open and fluid. On these SD1s you do this line first because it's the farthest from the brake master cylinder, then you go around and do all the others. Right, I'm just going to do an idiot check of the brakes by wedging that bit of wood in there and see if it locks the rear wheels. Right, so I got that in there, brakes are on, and nothing. Brilliant. Let's have a look at the other side. Oh, cockins. Right, that'd be why. Right, bollocks. That will require further investigating. Well, that was very, very annoying indeed. Basically, one of the two lines that I put in on the back of this is not seated properly. The one on the left as we're looking now. The annoying factor about this is you can't easily get a spanner on it without taking the other line off, which is now partly bled, which is really annoying because it's going to make a lot of mess. But if I try and put an open-ended spanner on the one on the left again, I'm just going to ruin it or round it or do something stupid like that. So I am going to have to remove the one on the right, get it out of the way, then go find a nicely fitting spanner and get it on there. I think I've got some brake spanners. It's like a ring end, but it has a cutaway in it, so it's a bit more supportive than something like that. It's also six-sided rather than whatever these are. Ta-da! Brake spanner. I've got the other line off. I've already given it a couple of turns. Right, brake spanner. So it's like a ring spanner, but six-sided and with a bit cut out. Got the other line out of the way. So hopefully get this on there somehow. I remember why I didn't go crazy with this last time. It's because it still clashes. You cannot get it on there. No. Does not want to go. I have actually already put a couple of turns on it with the open-ended one. Just the conventional spanner. And I'm not just saying that, it did go. Right, that's about as tight as I'm going to be able to get it. If it leaks again, what I'll do is take my sanding disc and basically grind that down until I can get it on nicely. And then I'll just keep it in my toolbox as one specific for SD1 brakes. Right, I'll put the other line in, do that up and have another go. Well, this is going to be a rather disappointing end to the day and the video. I've basically run out of time and patience. The trailer tyre's deflated, so I started using this one. All was going well, and then I thought I'd double check and make sure this wasn't leaking, and it's still pissing brake fluid out. And I am not actually sure why, but for some reason that union does not want to seal. There, it's still leaking out, and I think what's happened is the union isn't long enough, so it's bottoming out on the back plate before it's actually compressing the copper line into the back of the slave cylinder or the wheel cylinder. So that means I'm going to have to chop that union off, find one that has a much longer threaded section. That will do two things. One is it will go into the wheel cylinder without bottoming out and actually do its job, but the other benefit will be hopefully the head of it will be sticking far enough out that I can get a spanner on it, much easier than the other one. So very annoying. All I've done really is make a massive mess and get all my tools dirty and then get cold in the rain and the wind. Fun. I have no idea where I'm up to in terms of filming this, because there's been, I don't know, another week of delays while I've been out and about working. Basically last time I couldn't bleed the brakes up because a union on the back of here was bottoming out on the back plate before it was actually making a good seal with the slave cylinder or the wheel cylinder. So I've been and bought longer unions so there's more thread, so the hex shouldn't hit the back plate until the beaded end has been crushed into the back of the wheel cylinder. So what I need to do now is unbolt that old one, pull the brake line out enough so that I can get my flaring tool on the end, cut the end off, form a new end and put it all back together again. Alright, got them undone. I've had to take that one off as well just to give me access to this one, but that's what I'm doing. This one, my new one, is much longer, so it'll crush that bead into the back of the cylinder before the hex hits the back plate. So that's all I needed. It was just not knowing that I needed that. So that's what the hold up has been. I cut the old beaded end off, and I haven't just cut the tip off, I've cut a little bit further as well, because that bit of metal either side is what gets clamped in that tool. So that's already been crushed, so if I'd used this section again, those bits wouldn't have deformed as nicely. So I've jumped like the whole inch. Fortunately I've got enough pipe spare so that I can get it. So now I'm just gonna reform the end. That's my new union already slid on. So I'll now get in there. That's the benefit of this beader, it's handheld and portable, so you can do this sort of stuff on the car. You don't have to take the whole brake line off the car and put it on a workbench. So that's what's dead handy, but obviously it's a two-handed job, so I won't be able to film it. New beaded end is formed, and I can put it all back together again now, hopefully before I lose all my brake fluid. Right. I'm about to start bleeding the brakes again. I think from memory it was a couple of weeks ago that I was last doing this, only a matter of seconds for you, but I was bitching about the Gunson's eezibleed kit and my other vacuum thing not working properly. it wasn't them, it was me being a muppet and not realising that there was a leak on that side of the car, which I couldn't see because I was working from this side. So the eezibleed kit and the vacuum pump were both probably doing their jobs, but it was pissing out the fluid on the other side and I couldn't see that. So I'm gonna have another go. I've got my reservoir filled up with brake fluid. I've got clean brake fluid in that jar there. I've got a tyre at 20 psi, which I've checked, and it's all connected up and it hasn't gone and fired everywhere, nor has there been any movement of the fluid here, which is good, because last time what I should have clocked was that there was something going on here and yet nothing coming out of the wheel, so I should have known that there was a leak somewhere. So what I'm going to do now, and I haven't tried this, haven't primed it, haven't done anything other than connected up that tyre. I've got this bottle here just to catch stuff, that's part of that kit, but I'm not actually using it. And I'm just going to crack open the bleed nipple on this wheel and see what happens. Alright, straight away. So theoretically it should just continue to flow. I'm expecting a lot of air, so I'm just going to keep going and monitor the situation and see what happens. Right, good news is I've had loads of fluid come through. eezibleed seems to be doing its job. No leaks on the other side. Everything looks good here. Fluid level there has gone down a lot, which means that's taking it through this pipe here, which is reassuring. Bad news is it's starting to rain, even though it's sunny, which is a bit odd. So I'm going to keep going. And I might also get the trolley jack out and try and do the front while I've got it all connected. Offside front. We'll see what happens. Ooh. God, it's quite effective. Jesus. That's with 20 psi behind it, so you can see the clear stuff coming through almost immediately. Seem to be slowing down. Oh, there we go. Bit of a... Well, I'll let that do its thing. Other side, I have just cracked this off and it was already starting to go. So far so good with the eezibleed. I was wrong. Great system. One word of warning, I very nearly just ballsed this up. I was just about to undo that and put my reservoir cap back on, but of course it's still pressurized to 20 psi, so that would have been an extremely bad idea because it probably would have just jettisoned fluid everywhere. So yeah, remember to disconnect your tyre first. I have my glamorous assistant here, block of wood on the brake pedal. All four wheels are locked against turning by hand, so cool, brakes achieved. So I'm going to get the airline, pump the tyres up, put the wheels on, start it up and see if I can free the clutch off. Once again the weather is pissing me off. It's now decided to piss it down, even though it's blue skies, apart from that brown bit up there. So I'm getting wet, pissed off, and I might go home in a minute. I've got the car on the ground and the batteries connected up, and I'm going to start it. This will be the first start since the NEC show, or just shortly afterwards. I've got it in neutral because obviously the clutch is still seized. And again, the cold start enrichment isn't plugged in, so I'm just going to let it glow plug quite a lot. Apparently even when that glow plug relay light goes off, the glow plugs are still running till you start it, someone told me. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Got a couple of puffs, which I didn't do last time I drove it, or played with it. May bother. Right, okay, so that is on and running. Not too much in the way of smoke. The clutch is still seized, which means I need to unseize it, obviously. So the friction plate is stuck to the flywheel essentially, and the only way of really getting it off is having the engine off, car in gear, foot on the clutch, and then start it and just keep hoping it frees off. Now I've got the brakes working, I can have my other foot on the brake and the handbrake on, so it shouldn't go anywhere, and I'll be able to get more of a shock loading. The other option is to bump it or let it start up and drive in gear, and then just drive it around in circles, rocking the accelerator and hoping that it comes off. I'm not sure I want to do that yet. Yeah, I'll try the first option because it's a bit safer, a bit more controlled. Right, I've just been playing trying to free the clutch off. What I've been doing is in gear, in a high gear, I've been trying 5th, 3rd, 4th, reverse, first, whatever, foot on the clutch, then just cranking the starter on and off with my foot on the foot brake and the handbrake applied, and it's still not shifting, so it is well stuck on there. So I'm just going to keep persevering. There are a couple of things that concern me. One is I could just fuck the clutch. I could bollocks the starter if I keep cranking it on that, or just stress something. So this is not a nice process to be going through if you're sort of mechanically sympathetically minded. This is the shortcut, really. The only decent way of doing it is take the gearbox out. I've also heard people pouring coke through the bell housing, but to be honest I'm not sure how that's going to help, but you know, apparently it does. Apparently it eats the rust off the flywheel. But I'm just going to keep carrying on doing what I'm doing, and hopefully it'll free off. It is really not coming off. I was hoping it would go ping and then start up, but it's not doing it at all. So I might call it a day and have a bit of a think and a read up on the internet about how exactly I'm going to go about doing this without ruining your car. Just a quick update, I have had that running for 10 minutes to get it up to temperature, and it still didn't free off, so I'm going to let it cool down and hope for another day it decides it wants to release.